and immediately got snogged by David Jason. Very pleasant experience. But, I'd only just met him, so it was a bit of a shock. And we did the dialogue, and they sent me back into the house, shaking. It seemed to go well. And then then I came out with the dog. And they, of course, were expecting a sort of poodle or a terrier. And Aunt Cullen's this huge Great Dane. And honestly, I think John Sullivan wrote one of the funniest scenes I ever had. It was just glorious.
Marlene, come along, for God's sake. We do have a flight to catch. Come on, kiss him goodbye.
Yeah, bye, Del. See you soon.
For God's sake, the dog, Marlene.
Yes, bye. Love, and Doobie's gonna miss his little mumsy wumsy, isn't he? And Mummy's gonna miss her little
Makes you want to throw up, doesn't it?
I'm a bit Tom Dick myself.
My favourite one is when Rodney's talking about his specimen and he's got to keep it somewhere dark where it won't be disturbed. And what do you say?
Yes. Try Boyce's pants.
Yeah, I love that one. Cracks me up every time.
I have just remembered. I was supposed to take Cassie's specimen to the clinic this morning. I've gone and left it in the kitchen on your worktop.
That's all right, don't worry, you can take it in tomorrow, can't you?
No, you don't understand. It mustn't be left in direct sunlight, right? You've got to find a cool, dark spot where it won't be disturbed.
How about Boyce's pants?
Sue, I think you also mentioned one of the scenes that you really liked as Marlene was the episode where Del is trying to sell a baby. I think it's from Prussia with Love, trying to sell a baby to Boyce and Marlene. And you liked that scene where Del and Marlene share an embrace.
Yes, it's a very controversial episode now, because everybody's being so careful about what they say about everything. There have been many people who've said they don't want to see that episode anymore, or suggested that maybe you shouldn't see that episode. When I say many people, there's probably about three, because Boyce and Marlene, who've longed for a baby, suddenly there is the chance that this is going to happen because Del Boy is going to, let's be honest, sell them a baby. Mm. There's this gorgeous German girl who's got pregnant and she can't keep the baby. She's got to go home to Germany. And so Del Boy suggests that Boyce and Marlene would be wonderful parents for them. And Marlene is made up. She can't believe it. Suddenly she's going to have her own baby. And the baby arrives, and I know you all know the scene so well. They look in the pram, and there's the baby, and the baby is brown. And Boyce has this wonderful moment where he says, "I might be able to con people into buying my cars. I might be able to convince them you conceived and gave birth in 7 days flat. But how the hell am I going to persuade them? My granddad was Louis Armstrong." Well, it absolutely brought the house down. And there were, every race was in that audience. Nobody was offended. It just is a very, very funny line.
Yeah.
But then, of course, Boyce goes off in a half and high dudgeon, and Marlene is left there with Del Boy. And it's David and his skill as an actor that turns that whole audience, who are weeping with joy at the line. It goes absolutely silent. You would have heard a pin drop. And I say, I suppose he's right, isn't he? And then I have to decide to leave the baby. And Del's just saying, it makes sense. And it's the most tender moment. And it's incredible what happened to the audience, because they went from the biggest laugh of the night to people really did have their hankies out, and they were feeling Marlene's pain. It was just beautiful writing and wonderful playing from David.
Yeah.
He's a jolly good actor.
He really is a good actor. Yes.
And Boyce goes, "Leave off, Marlene, the baby's brown." And do you remember what your reply was to that?
We could say it's a throwback, and so is Duke.
That was it. So is Duke. You said, "Yeah, so is Duke." He said, "I'm not trying to claim
anything to say, but I don't mind." Poor Marlene, she wanted that baby so much. Thank goodness she eventually got her baby.
She did.
Yeah.
And I think John says, Boyce says, I'm not trying to claim to be Duke's father. And Uncle Albert goes, "It's their likeness, though." Sure, yeah.
It's brilliant stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
It was a very gloriously touching, because it was touching for the German girl too. You know, it was a nice part for her, and she was awfully good. Erika Hoffman is her name. She was excellent, because she was so vulnerable, and deeply sad she couldn't keep her baby, and then of course she decided she had to keep the baby. It was a moving episode, as were so many of them. I mean, nobody will forget.
Well, it don't bother me, boy, see?
Leave off, Marlene. The baby's brown.
So is Duke.
Del and Rodney in the lift, when Rodney can finally at last cry about losing his baby. You know, he was never frightened to write. This comedy writer, John Sullivan, would write about loneliness, miscarriage, infertility, death, and still, so he could make you cry, and still he could make you laugh more than anybody ever has made people laugh.
Is Cassandra hurting?
Of course she is.
How do you know? You haven't talked to her about it.
No, and you know why? It's because like, it's almost if I don't talk about it, then it might not be true.
But it is.
I know, but if I don't say it...
If you don't say what?
We lost our baby.
But you did. And you have said it.
Yeah, I said it. You shield yourself from it, you know? I've just been lying, haven't I?
Yes.
Lots of moments when you do well up and feel quite emotional.
Yeah, I mean, the classic one, of course, is holding back the years, taking the groom off the cake at Rodney's wedding. I mean, that gets to everybody, doesn't it? And we've heard from many actors, it's the pathos, isn't it, of the show. It's 1 minute being able to laugh and then you cry. It's genius, isn't it, from John Sullivan?
He wrote a very sweet scene for Del and Marlene just after Rodney and Cassandra have left the pub. And we have this lovely little moment together. And you say, why? And I say, why did you never get married? And he says something like, well, you know, all the girls I wanted, what was I going to do with Rodney? I wasn't going to put him into care, so I elbowed them. And you understand, makes you understand what Del Boy was like, what he was all about. You know, he cared. It's the love of family that is so overwhelming. He looked after Grandad, he looked after Uncle Albert. He made sure always that they were fed and clothed, and loved them. And that love is so, it's so lovely that there is so much love out there still for the show, because and I think that's part of the reason that, you know, this family, his business dealings weren't always absolutely as they should be, but he was, you know, they don't drink and drive, they don't take drugs, they don't swear. It's gorgeous family entertainment.
How comes you never got married, Del?
Me? I'm too shrewd for that game.
Got engaged though, didn't you? Lots of times. So why didn't you marry any of them?
I don't know, it's Rodney, I suppose.
Rodney stopped you getting married?
No, well, back in them days, Rodney was just a kid, you know. I had to bring him up.
You were like a mother and father to him.
Yeah, I breastfed him for the first 6 months. No, it's just all the birds that I went out with, they wanted to get married, but they didn't want to bring Rodney up. Especially the way he went through shoes. Anyway, what was I supposed to do? Get married and put Rodney into care? No. So I elbowed him. Well, it's family, isn't it?
Well, you should be proud of yourself. You turned out a real good one.
It's a diamond. 42 carat diamond.
Come along, Marlene. I want to have a word with you during the week. You should see what that Chinese kid has done to my video recorder.
Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, sweetheart.
Come on, Chuck.
Cheerio, bossy.
I mean, that was an incredible episode, wasn't it? When they did the funeral of Grandad.
Mm.
I mean, how many comedy writers could come up with a show that is as unbelievably moving and yet also as funny as that episode? Sullivan was a genius, I think.
Yeah.
You've changed, Del.
It was about time you did. Come on, we've got to go down to market later on.
I mean, your personality has changed. I've seen a side of you I never knew existed.
You don't understand, Rodney.
You're right about that, Del. I mean, look at you last night. You was laughing, you was drinking. I mean, why didn't you just put your Boney M record on, Del? We could have had a good old knees up. It was Grandad. How could you get over it so easily?
Get over it? What a plonker you really are, Rodney. Get over it? I ain't even started yet. I ain't even started, bruv. And do you know why? Because I don't know how to. That's why. Survived all my life with a smile and a prayer. I'm Del Boy, ain't I? Good old Del Boy. He's got more bounce than Zebedee. Here, pal, what you drinking? Go on. Hello, darling. You have one for luck. That's me. That's Del Boy, innit? Nothing ever upsets Del Boy. I've always played the tough guy. I didn't want to, but I had to. And I've played it for so long now, I don't know how to be anything else. I don't even know how to... Oh, it don't matter. Bloody families, I've finished with them. What do they do to you, eh? Hold you back? Drag you down? And then they break your bloody heart. Sorry.
When he wrote that episode, and I think it's so sad that newspapers want to give away plots, don't they? They always want, if there's going to be a train crash in Coronation Street, we hear all about it weeks before. John was absolutely determined that nobody would know how it got out that they were going to get their millions, but nobody ever found out how. And he said the rumor went round that they were going to win the lottery, and so we were told to not actually to discourage that. Say, well, I couldn't possibly say, but so that people would go on thinking that it was the lottery, because I mean, it was a fantastic scene in Sotheby's, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. That wonderful scene when they're at the auction. And they fall out of shot. I think they're two of the most classic comedy moments ever.
Yeah, and they're in the van celebrating after, aren't they? The van's rocking and things. And,
the van rocking.
Yeah,
it's my favourite episode. I love that one.
It's mine as well.
Yes, I love it too. And when we filmed it in the studio, it was really sweet because the audience, they were so pleased for the boys that they'd got their money. But we all absolutely knew that it was going to be the end. There couldn't possibly be any more. So people were crying with joy that they got the money and crying with the agony of knowing that it was the end. Although it wasn't, as it happens. But we did have 5 years without any episodes.
6.2 million. So that's just over 3 million each.
Well, we've had worse days.
You want to go first, or should I?
Well, you know, why don't we go together?
Yeah, all right. 1, 2, 3.
I always remember Ken McDonald's Sue Mike. I felt he was very emotional, wasn't he, in that scene when he says, I don't know, on the house or something, doesn't
On the
he?
house tale.
Yeah, he sees him on the house tale. Yeah,
he was a great character, Ken. The Mike the barman. In life, he was really he was the life and soul of the party everywhere he went. But at the conventions particularly, Ken loved them. He went to every single one while he was alive. He loved meeting the fans. He just being part of Only Fools and Horses for Ken was just the best thing that could have happened to him in his life. It was so sweet. I loved him. I'm so sad that he died so young. We lost too many of them.
We did.
And there's a beer mat, doesn't he? Didn't he have a trick with a beer mat or something on his nose?
See, the beer mat. It would usually happen when you were filming, not when there was an audience in. And so you're doing this speech at the table, and Ken is the other side, and suddenly he pops up and there's a beer mat, and he's going through that. And I mean, obviously, everybody corpsed every time. It was he was a great joker, but he was adorable.
What can I get you?
Champagne all round. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Aren't you going to left our wallets at home again?
Oh, please, sir. That is not a problem.
On the slate, mate.
On the house, Del.
No, Michael. We'll pay our way. And while we're at it, we'll have all your sandwiches. That's it. Right. I'll get them.
No, that's right. Put some money in.
No, Rodney. I'll get the sandwiches because you bought the rolls.
And I don't know if you remember this, but in 1997, there was an article in the Times by the then, he was Chief Inspector of Schools, he was called Chris Woodhead. And he wrote this article, which he finished with this weird attack on the show, saying, if Del and Rodney are the only role models available to the young, then we have a problem. I mean, John Sullivan, when he read that, he was not only cross, he was really hurt. And eventually he was persuaded to write a response in the Times. And I'm going to read that to you because I don't want to get it wrong.
Right.
And so he pointed out that Del had brought up his younger brother after they lost both parents, cared for and fed his aging grandfather and later his old Uncle Albert, and strove to make sure he could always provide for them. He admitted that some of Del Boy's business arrangements may not have fared well in a court of law, but said that compared with the activities of some politicians, bankers and captains of industry, Del was squeaky clean. Rodney, he said, was a decent, law-abiding young man and the first to warn against anything unsavoury. Albert had spent his life fighting Nazism, and his only fault was in constantly reminding everyone of the fact. He asked if Mr. Woodhead believed that youngsters were so stupid that they would copy everything they saw on screen or stage. Did Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet induce young people to commit suicide, he wondered? Or did Charles Dickens endorse pickpocketing as a fun career in Oliver Twist? Throughout the series, he concluded, I have tried to emphasize the basic decency of the Trotters. They are not violent, they don't take drugs, they don't drink and drive. They respect the old and the very young. More importantly, they have strong family values, loyalty and love, and the ability to laugh at themselves. If more people followed their example, he suggested, Britain might be a happier place. Don't you think that sums it up?
Yeah.
Well
Yes,
said.
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
John
very much
Sullivan's
so.
own words, and it's true. They're good eggs, aren't they? They're good, nice. It makes me well up when I read that, because I think it's so absolutely what John intended. He wanted it to be a show that families could watch and laugh together.
Yeah, I've never heard that attack before. That's I can't
It's-
believe that, to be honest.
No, it's weird, isn't it? And you can see why Sullivan was so angry.
Yeah.
Because everything about that family, they've got amazingly good, strong instincts about love and honor and truth and loyalty. Sure, they're market traders, but they've got good hearts, haven't they?
I have. There's not many brothers that will raise their brother for as long as he did, and he did.
No, and that little scene that I had with Del in the pub, when he explained that he couldn't marry any of them because it would have meant putting Rodney into care, and that's sweet, isn't it? Thank goodness he did eventually meet Raquel.
Yes, he got his happy ending.
Happy ending. The whole thing was a happy ending.
It was.
It's just a pity it had to end.
Like your name?
Del, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, what's that?
Other than looks, was he like me in any way?
Who?
You know who? Freddie Robdell. My father.
Freddie the Frog was a professional burglar. He was disloyal to his friends. He was a womanizer, a homebreaker, a con man, a thief, a liar and a cheat. So no, Rodney, you're nothing like him. Come on, let's go home, bruv.